All right, everyone, welcome to a very special episode with a very special guest. I would like to introduce to the channel my lovely wife. She moved here all the way from one of the most iconic cities in the world, London, UK, to humble little Lethbridge, Alberta. All right, so we have a lot to cover. First, how did you end up here?
That's a great question. And every time I tell people that I moved here from London, UK, everyone's like, why? Why would you do that? Anyway, so the short answer is because of you. You're from here. The longer version of events is that almost 7 years ago to the day, we bumped into each other backpacking through Southeast Asia and in Thailand, and we just ended up traveling together for a few months. Then I came to Canada for the first time to visit you. That was my first time in Lethbridge too. And a few weeks later, you moved to the UK, where we lived in London for 2 years. And then I don't think we were planning on moving to Canada when we did, but COVID happened, so that was fun. And then one thing led to another, so we decided to come here to figure things out. And it's been more than 4 years, and we never went back.
Yeah, that's a very condensed version of our events. But what were your first impressions of Lethbridge when you arrived here?
I actually remember that quite well. First thing that I remember thinking, like, that's crazy. It's crazy how many people live in houses. Because I grew up in Lithuania. That's where my family and friends are from. And then I lived in the UK, in London, for over 10 years. And this whole time I lived in an apartment. So when I came here and I realized, like, everyone lives in houses, I thought it's just crazy. There's just so much space. So I was just amazed by that. Another thing that surprised me, one of the first impressions, how friendly Canadians were. Like, super friendly. Like, people were asking me how my day was, and they actually, like, meant it. I felt that way, at least, and I still feel the same way. And another thing that I remember is just the amount of drive-thrus. Like, why do you need so many drive-thrus? It's crazy. I think I've been to a drive-thru, I don't know, maybe a few times in my life before I moved to Canada. So for me, seeing so many drive-thrus and fast food restaurants was just something that I really remember that thinking. That was crazy.
Well, before you didn't even have a car, so drive-thrus might not even have been an option.
Yep.
I mean, living in London, having a car is just so expensive, and not to mention the traffic. You can't really get anywhere anytime fast. So, yeah, and then also I think friendly people. It might be more of a Lethbridge thing. I know the bigger the city is, the less friendly people. When I was living in London, I always heard about northern London, and people apparently in the north are like super friendly, and then they come down to London and they talk to people. And
you mean northern England?
Oh, sorry, northern England, not northern London. Yes. So, but yeah, in a big city, if someone's trying to talk to you, they are probably trying to scam you or want something from you. But
not always, but that could be the case.
But here you're just like, I don't know, having a conversation in the lineup at the grocery store, and someone's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Well, what a cute kid you have or something. So, yeah, it's a lot more personal here in Lethbridge. But, yeah, so what do you love about Lethbridge now that you've been here for 4 years? Oh my goodness, can you believe COVID was 4 years ago? 5 years ago, isn't it?
Almost, yeah.
That's crazy.
Things that I love about Lethbridge. I feel like this list is getting longer and longer every year. The first thing that I love about Lethbridge is the size. So London is big, obviously. There's like 8-9 million people living there. It's crazy. So I just love the slower pace of life, how close everything is. And it's just so easy to get around. There's no traffic. There's obviously downside about public transport, but I think we'll talk about that in a bit too. But I just love the size of Lethbridge. I know that if it's something is 15-minute drive away, that I'll get there in 15 minutes. I'm not going to get stuck in traffic somewhere. So yeah, and it's just slower pace of life. Like in London, it was go, go, go all the time. You run to the train. If you miss the train and the next one is in 2 minutes, those 2 minutes are the longest 2 minutes of your life, and you're like mad that you didn't make it to the train. I feel like people don't live like that here. It's definitely slower. So I love that. I love how close we are to the mountains. So as I mentioned, I grew up in Lithuania. In Lithuania, it's flat. You've been there a couple of times. There's no mountains.
Yeah.
So for me, being so close to the mountains is just amazing. Like you can see them on a clear day. You can see them from Lethbridge. And if you drive, I don't know, half an hour, you already see them.
No, they just get bigger and bigger the farther you drive west.
Yeah. Every time we go to Waterton on Crow's Nest Pass, I'm just amazed. Like they're just so beautiful. So it makes me really happy. Another thing that I like that people probably don't know about Lethbridge, you have really beautiful sunsets. Like really.
Prairie sunsets.
Yeah, there's something else. And also sunrise sometimes too, like from our house, like we see them and they're just like so bright and red. It's just beautiful. And the last thing that I love about Lethbridge, and it's not because you're a realtor I'm saying that, but affordable housing.
Yes.
And prices in London are crazy. I'm sure Toronto, Vancouver, and other big cities are similar, but London, I would say a one-bedroom apartment, a decent one-bedroom apartment would cost probably $700,000 Canadian dollars, and I'm talking about 500 square feet apartment.
Yeah, and it depends on the location too. It can go up from there.
Oh yeah.
It can, and then it goes down the farther you are away from the central district, but then your commute might be longer, right?
And it's still a one-bedroom apartment, and you still would be paying probably $400 at the very least, $400,000. So yeah, being able to afford a house and live in a house, that's one of the things I definitely love about Lethbridge, and that's why so many people are moving here. And it's a funny thing. I never lived in a house before we moved here, so I think I told you this a few times that I don't know how to live in a house. I feel like you have to learn after living in an apartment the whole life. Living in a house is something you have to get used to. But now we lived in one house, then we moved to a slightly bigger house, and now I want a bigger house. So I feel like the more you have, the more you want.
You're becoming Canadian now,
right? And I'm hoarding things in our garage, so this is definitely a new lifestyle for me, for sure.
Yeah, lots of people in Canada, I feel like they just use their garage as storage, and they just park their car outside. And so far, we still have enough space to park our car in our garage, but yeah, it's getting tighter and tighter, especially with kids and buying all the seasonal items and, yeah. So those are things you like about Lethbridge. What do you not like about Lethbridge?
Okay, so I don't think this list will surprise you. The first is the wind. I think everyone talks about the wind, how annoying it is. But I have to say that when we first moved to Lethbridge, I found wind to be so annoying. Like, I really didn't like it. But now, 4 years down the line, I feel like it's not as bad. In the summer is not that windy, and that's when you spend most of the time outdoors. In the winter, you want the wind to melt all the snow that you get and to raise the temperature. So it's not that bad. It's still a little bit annoying. Another thing I don't like about Lethbridge, and I don't think that's ever going to change, it's very car centric.
Yeah.
So you basically need a car to get anywhere. You can obviously use public transport, and I know it's available. I've never taken the bus, full transparency, but I know it's not the best as well. So that's another thing what I don't like about Lethbridge. But I just miss, so when we lived in London, if it's like something was 15 minutes away, we would walk. Like, there was no question of like taking public transport. We didn't have a car, but I feel like if we did, we wouldn't have driven anyway 15 minutes. So we would walk. And here, something is 5 minutes away and you could walk there. You still drive. So I miss that. And no one's forbidding me from walking. It's just not something that people do. And I feel like I got into this bad habit of driving everywhere as well. So yeah, I kind of miss. But every time we go to Europe to like visit my family or on holiday, like we walk a lot. So it's a very different lifestyle. And another thing that it's not about Lethbridge that I don't like. I think it's a Canadian thing, maybe Alberta, the way your cheese is packaged. Like, what is up with that? That's like the most awkward packaging I've ever dealt with in my life. And every time, it's been 4 years, I still find it super annoying.
Trying to take a full block of cheese out of the tightly wrapped wrapper. So for people that don't know, at least in London, the cheese that we bought, it just came in a resealable package, just like a Ziploc bag. And there was enough room to like easily slide the cheese in and out and then just seal it up and put it in the fridge and use it the next day. But here it's like you gotta, I don't know, we put a Ziploc bag over the end and put an elastic on it so it doesn't dry out. But yeah, that's... Yeah.
And I guess I'll add one more thing. It's not something I don't like about Lethbridge. It's something that Lethbridge lacks, I think, in my opinion, is good food. And that's one of the things I probably miss living in a big city. And I'm not saying there's no good food. There is, but you have to like go on a scavenger hunt almost to like find really good food to eat. Full transparency, I don't eat meat, so my options are slightly limited.
This is like agriculture or livestock center of Canada, basically the Texas of Canada. Some people call Alberta. So
I realize
lots
that.
of Albertan beef. People drive around with "I love Alberta beef" stickers on the back of their car, and
So I'm sure if I ate meat, my opinion would be slightly different. But even with like cheese and pastries and a lot of the things that in Europe or London or Lithuania, where I'm from, you just go to any shop and you know you'll have a good selection. Where here, it's not necessarily the case. You have options, but I wish there were more of them.
more bakeries, more.
Yep, and more cheese. And now you have to like go to specialized shops to like get certain things. Where in London, like big cities, is just so much more conveniently, like you can access that more conveniently.
Yeah, the options are obviously way bigger in London, as well as more ethnic foods and different things like that. But the thing is, when something new opens up in Lethbridge, because it's such a small city, it's like, oh, did you hear about that new restaurant? Where, let's say, if you're living in Calgary, maybe that wouldn't like come up in conversations. Like, oh, did you hear about that new restaurant in the southeast? And it's like, well, I live in the northeast, so I'm never going to go there. But in Lethbridge, if there's a new thing it's like the talk of the town. So, and it's probably only going to be a 10-15 minute drive away, so you can definitely check it out. So.
And there are definitely some nice restaurants here, some local restaurants that I like, and they have some nice options. I just wish there was more. That's my only thing.
Apparently, Lethbridge has one of the highest per capita restaurants per capita or something like that. I don't know if that's still the case, but...
but do you count fast food restaurants as restaurants? So, because
yeah, probably. Then, yeah, there's the Tim Hortons in the Walmart parking lot, and then there's the Tim Hortons inside of the Walmart. Yeah, I think Tim Hortons is kind of on the downhill. Hopefully more cafes open up and take the place of that. But so what do you miss about living in a big city?
So I guess the food was one of those things that I miss, and that's something that's lacking. Another thing that I miss living specifically in London, it was how easy it was to travel to like anywhere in Europe. You can just on Monday you can say, oh, let's fly to Spain on Friday, and you can fly that day and usually find super cheap deals as well. So it's so easy, it's so convenient, and travel in Canada, like outside Canada, within Canada, is so expensive. So I really miss that cheap and easy travel that we had in London. And I do miss, although less now, but I do miss public transport, like good public transport system. And I'm not even comparing public transport to London. Like I grew up in a city in Lithuania that's somewhat similar size to Lethbridge, and public transport is great there. It's like way better than in Lethbridge. So I kind of miss that. And I feel like if it was better, I would use it, maybe. Yeah. But now, as I said, because I drive now, which I didn't before, I kind of miss that less and less. And that's about it. I feel like also the things that I miss is having all this entertainment at your doorstep, all these facilities, all these, a lot of the things they can, in the morning, you can be like, oh, I want to go to a musical tonight, let's do that, and you can do that. But having said that, Lethbridge actually has a lot to offer. You just have to look for it.
Yeah, the thing is, in London, any day of the week you can go to a musical, but in Lethbridge, every now and then we have musicals at like the Yates Theatre, which is like kind of a smaller, more indie production, and it's always the same guys that are there, so you can kind of like, I don't know, it's like a comedy kind of show and musical or whatever. But then there are some bigger acts, like the Book of Mormon just came to Calgary, so you see that, and then it's like, okay, well, let's make a plan to go there. But like, I feel like when you always have the option of something to do, like you might not actually do it. So, like we lived in London for a couple years together, and we did go to some musicals, but it wasn't like. I don't know. You just like don't plan for it, or like because it's there. You're like, oh, we can go anytime. But when something comes to Lethbridge or to Calgary, then it's like, oh, we have to go. Like you feel more of a thing to go there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Makes sense. You don't do exciting things in London every day. And I think that's the thing that people think about London. That's like, oh, it's so amazing. Like, why would you move from London to Lethbridge because London's amazing? It's not. There are a lot of things, and there are a lot of things that I miss about London, but there are a lot of things I don't miss about it too.
Yeah, you could do things every day, but it gets expensive, right?
There's that too. But I cannot wait to go back to London with our boys and go watch the Lion King musical, which I haven't watched. So yeah,
the most expensive musical, I'm pretty sure.
I think so. Yeah, I'm sure it's worth the money.
Yeah, and they come to Calgary every now and then as well.
They do.
It is.
That's great.
They've come in the past. So, but
what did you miss when we lived in London? Did you miss something from, your life in Lethbridge?
I missed having a car. I grew up in Lethbridge my whole life, right? So I got my driver's license or my learner's license at 14. I got my driver's license at 16 on like my birthday, and just missed the... Like, yeah, in London, you can fly to Spain, or you can fly to Italy, or I don't know, wherever the heck you want to go. But in Lethbridge, you can just like drive, and you can just go to the mountains. That's one of the big things. Like, people sometimes ask me, like, what's the difference between Medicine Hat and Lethbridge? Lethbridge is a little bit bigger. Medicine Hat's a little bit smaller, but kind of similar amenities, kind of similar cities, price... same kind of price of homes, but the one thing that Medicine Hat is really missing is the mountains. Like, to get to the Rocky Mountains from Medicine Hat, you have to drive through Lethbridge, so it's like an extra hour and a half onto your drive, and just being away from nature and stuff like that, it would be like a deal breaker for me. Anyways, grew up hiking all the time, skiing in the winter, and going to Waterton. My mom lives in the Crow's Nest Pass as well, so going out there, and there's just something about being in nature and outside of the city, just quiet.
Yeah, London is full
nice.
of parks, but it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same like mountains or the parks that you have here. Definitely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's obviously a lot more history in London, but.
So you miss your car, basically.
I do miss my car, but then on the other hand, it's like, I don't know, just being able to jump on a bus or jump on the tube and just being able to kind of shut off and like, or prepare for work or whatever, listen to podcasts, listen to music, or not having to always focus on driving or whatever. It is nice, but just the freedom you have having a car, it's hard to beat.
Yeah, well, I didn't know how to drive before I moved here. I didn't know where the brakes were. Like, I never drove in my life. Mm-hmm. So I quite quickly I realized that I'll probably need to get a driving license here if I want to live a more comfortable life. And you obviously refuse to drive me everywhere for the rest of our lives. So you did that for a couple of years until I got my driving license, and now I definitely feel I have a little bit more freedom. And at first I did not enjoy driving, but then I quickly realized you have wide roads. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of easy. There's not too much traffic. I think drivers here are fairly good. Like, we went to Lithuania recently, and I felt like drivers there are a bit more crazy than here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even though I didn't drive there, but just being in the passenger seat, I could tell that they're more aggressive. So I find driving in Lethbridge actually quite easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes people complain about Lethbridge drivers, but yeah, any bigger city, like even if you go to Calgary, people are just going to be a little bit more in a rush. But here it's just, it is only going to take you 15 minutes to get where you're going, and it's just, there's just no point in speeding or cutting people off like a maniac. People do it still, but really wide roads. I actually did have a car when I lived in London. I was in real estate, and I got a company vehicle, tiny little Volkswagen something or another. They don't even about that. The car is so small they don't even sell them in Canada, I don't think. But really really narrow roads, also on the wrong side of the road, but that was easy to overcome. But yeah, I can see why people don't drive in London, because it's very stressful and very expensive, and not very fast as well. No. So, but yeah, that's the trade-off. No public well, we do have public transport, but just no matter what, driving is going to be quicker 99 times out of 100. And so what about, do you feel safe in Lethbridge? There's always the big question about the crime. What did you see all the crime when you arrived here?
So I remember you told me one day that Lethbridge ranked really high when it came to this crime severity index, and I thought you were joking, like genuinely. And so I laughed, but then I looked at their article, and it was true, and I was like, where's where all this crime is. And I feel very safe in Lethbridge. In London, I don't know about you, I never really felt safe, because I know there's a lot of people there, a lot of people on the streets, a lot of people on the train. You always are aware of your surroundings. You're always, looking over your shoulder. Not always, but often, more often than here. And so, yeah, I think Lethbridge, and I've been to a lot of places, like we traveled together, and I think Lethbridge is one of the most safe places that I've been and definitely lived in. And yeah, London, and where I grew up in Lithuania, I also lived in Turkey for a year, and I never felt as safe as I feel in Lethbridge. And I think one of the things is because you drive so much, and there's less people on the street, so maybe that's why I get that feel that it's quite safe here. And I know in London there's a lot of crazy people on the streets, like regardless where you go, there's always going to be someone, so you don't feel as safe. But yeah, in a nutshell, I do feel very safe in Lethbridge. What did you think of London when you were there?
Yeah, obviously small town kid living in the big city. It was like, when I grew up on a farm, and my nearest neighbor was like a mile down the road. And then living in London, my nearest neighbor was, 20 feet to my left in the unit beside me, or like above me and below me. And, yeah, and then I don't know. I was walking somewhere, and a bike, I think it was a motorbike, they came up onto the sidewalk and tried to swipe my phone from me. That's never happened to me in Lethbridge. So, I was like, just, la-di-da, whatever. I don't know, changing the song on my phone, and then all of a sudden some guy tries to swipe it out of my hand. Thankfully, they didn't get it, but we don't really have that. It's more if you leave your bike unattended, someone will probably steal your bike in Lethbridge. So don't. Yeah. Make sure to lock up your bike. But
I know things happen here. Things happen everywhere. There's 100,000 people living here. Of course, things will happen. But in general, I think most people feel quite safe, including myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No complaints here. I haven't been attacked in Lethbridge, not yet anyway, so.
Well, hopefully not.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously a big climate difference. I think London is about like the same latitude as Canada is on the map, but obviously there's the Gulf Stream that keeps London a lot warmer. So what are your thoughts about the weather in Lethbridge, having the 4 seasons, and the cold Alberta winters?
I actually like that you have 4 seasons. It's similar to the weather here is similar to the one in Lithuania, because we did have 4 seasons there too. Not in London. I think in London there's just one miserable season with like a few sunny days every now and then. But I don't think winters here are as bad. Yeah, it gets cold, but it doesn't last too long. There is snow, but I really like that there is 4 seasons. I wish fall was a bit longer, because it's so beautiful here, all these colors and everything. But yeah, I don't really have too many complaints about the weather here. Few things, like you have very dry air here. I remember when I first came to Lethbridge, to like Canada, as soon as I landed, my skin started to crack. And I couldn't understand what was going on. And I realized that the weather here is like super dry. And another thing that I find wild is the temperature difference. So one day it could be minus 15, and then Chinook rolls over, and then it's plus 10 the next day. It's just really wild. And there's been 4 years since we moved here, but I still find that amazing when I see that temperature difference.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like a week ago, we were at the zoo, and it was like, 10 degrees, and now it's minus 15.
Yep.
And that's over the course of a week, but those weather patterns can change over the course of pretty much a couple days. It's just like, and then also it can go back the other way as well, which you don't really see. Like I know in other places in Canada, like Winnipeg, it's like minus 15, and then it's, cold throughout basically the whole winter. But here you can have like a week of plus 10 or something like that in the middle of January, which is crazy. Yeah.
Well, another thing that I actually love about Lethbridge that I didn't mention, and how sunny it is here. In London, we had probably 5 sunny days, maybe slightly more, every year. But here, every day is sunny, which is amazing. So you definitely need sunglasses if you move here. And even if it's minus 30 outside, it's usually still very sunny. And it's so weird when it's not sunny outside, because most days are sunny. And sometimes it might be a bit deceiving, because minus 30 outside and you see, oh, it's sunny, so you think, and you don't check the temperature, and you think it's warmer than it is, and it's not. But it definitely gives you something.
Well, yeah, one thing that was different in London was I owned an umbrella, and I've never owned an umbrella in my entire life. Like you just don't own it. Like maybe you have an umbrella in Lethbridge, but like people don't really carry it around with them. In London, like every shop you go into has like an umbrella holder for umbrellas and stuff.
Yeah.
And here I don't know. Generally, you're just walking from your car to the shop or something like that. So if you just kind of just run through the parking lot.
It doesn't rain that much here.
No, it doesn't rain.
It's
And
rare.
yeah, and if it does rain really hard, then it's like, yeah, it's like super rare. So
Yeah. Well, weather in London sucks. It definitely, I would.
It's pretty windy in London too.
It does. Yeah, it gets actually
that's coming
really
from
windy.
a Lethbridgian. So.
And when it's windy, it's also rainy and miserable. And here, when it's windy, it could still be sunny and warm. So.
Yeah. Okay, so some of you may know, but we actually have a family now. So we got 2 boys. And what do you think about raising a family in Lethbridge?
So we're close to 2 years into this. Our toddler is going to be
about 2 years old. Yeah,
we'll be turning 2 soon. So far so good. I was actually surprised how much there is to do with families here. And someone like as an adult, it's hard to meet new people, like make friends. But I think when you have a baby, it's easier to meet. There's so many other moms out there that you can meet. There's so many groups that you can join. There's so much to do. There's so many playgrounds. I cannot wait to explore all of them because some of them are geared towards like.
There's over 100. Older. Are you sure you want to do all of them? That's a lot.
Well, over time, not in like one day, not in one summer, but I'm sure we'll visit most of them. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to do with the kids, which was a nice surprise. And well, we didn't raise kids anywhere else, so I don't really have anything else to compare this experience to. But yeah, so far I really like it.
And yeah, people like to rag on the healthcare in Canada, and healthcare while you're pregnant is like top notch. I had absolutely no complaints.
I had no complaints.
Yeah, well, I had less complaints, but yeah, it was the Lethbridge Hospital did a really good job, and
yeah, definitely. Like the care that I received was really good. I was actually surprised how good it was because I heard a lot of things. You hear things all the time, so you kind of lower your expectations.
If you're going to hear a story, it's probably going to be a horror story because who wants to tell a story about how
positive their experience was? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But and it's also not the States, so you don't have to spend $10,000 to have a child. But as soon as they come out, they're going to cost you money anyway. So, but I can't even imagine raising a family in London. Like that'd just be crazy. One, we would need a bigger place in London as well. But the cost of living, I don't know, just so many cars on the street as well. Like with a toddler, you look away for 1 second and he's just running off into the bushes or whatever. Here, it's like if you're on a residential street, you're probably okay. People are driving slow generally, but
you definitely have more space here. I mean, people raise kids in London, and I'm sure it's absolutely fine. But having this experience here, I feel like is great.
Yeah, and then being able to take them out to the nature, to the mountains, and let them run around and burn off all that steam is something that you don't really have. So, and then huge culture shock. What are some of the biggest differences between Europe and Canada, or I guess London and Lethbridge?
Yeah, few things come to mind. First, why do you give directions using east, west, north, whatever? Like no one knows these things, and every time I ask someone where something is, you're like, oh, it's north of Walmart. I was like, I don't know where that is. Like, can you explain that to me? So it makes no sense.
Lethbridge is on a grid system.
Oh my God.
The streets run north and south, and then the avenues run east and west.
But there's no grid system on like the west side.
There is no grid system on the west side. You just the sun sets in the west. I don't know.
That's so not helpful.
If you're ever lost, just look off into the distance, and if you see the mountains, you're looking probably close to west. And never eat shredded wheat. That's northeast, southwest.
Never heard that one before.
Or never enter Safeway washrooms.
Okay, I'll need you to write this down.
There's nothing wrong with Safeway washrooms.
I mean, it's been 4 years. I still don't understand this, and I don't think I ever will. Another thing that I found weird is that your weeks start on Sunday. not a Monday. But also, you don't know that. I was talking to someone, like a Canadian, and I mentioned that. They're like, no, but the week starts on Monday. And I said, what if today was Sunday and I said next week Monday? What would that mean to you? Would that mean tomorrow or in like 8 days? And I said, oh yeah, not tomorrow. Like the following week was like, so your week does start on a Sunday. That person was very confused. And like a few times, I think we had a misunderstanding when you said we were talking about something on a Sunday and you said next week and I meant a different week and you meant a different week. So
yeah, it doesn't come up. It's just like 1 day difference. So it's like a 1 in 7 chance that it's going to actually affect anything. And I didn't even realize, living in London for the longest time, that my work calendar started from Monday.
That's
but like all calendars in Canada, or at least in Alberta, when it starts on Sunday and it goes from there. And I was always confused on why Sunday was the weekend when it's the start of the week. So maybe we are wrong. But
yeah. And what else? I think that's about, like, these are the main ones. Obviously, there's some words that are different, like football and soccer and rocket salad and arugula. And but it doesn't take too long to like learn all these differences. And I think one thing about what I didn't know, that obviously Canada is big and like Alberta like is known for certain things. So there's actually people wearing cowboy hats and cowboy boots in the streets. And for me, I was just like, it was so funny to see that. It's actually what people like dress up, not for Halloween, like on a regular day. So for me, it's just like seeing something out of the movies.
Yes, we do have cowboys here, just like Yellowstone, which we've been watching as well.
I know.
It's like...
So that was different because you wouldn't see someone wearing cowboy boots and a cowboy hat in London. You could see people wearing a lot of weird things, but not that. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I should have brought my cowboy boots to London.
Oh my God.
I would have been like a character or something. But yeah, and then I guess any tips for people moving from a larger city to Lethbridge? What should they know?
I think... This was my problem when we moved here, that I kept comparing London to Lethbridge, or Lethbridge to London, which was so unfair because it's like comparing apples to, I don't know, something. And so I guess my tip or advice is like to not do that. Just embrace what Lethbridge has to offer, and it has to offer a lot. There's things that you will miss, but as you live here, you'll probably miss those things less and less. And just to embrace what Lethbridge has to offer. And just to remember that it's not a large city. It's a decent sized city and you have a lot here, but you will never have all these musicals and all these fancy Michelin star restaurants. Maybe one day. My hope is just to realize that and like try not to compare London to whatever large city you're moving here from.
Yeah, it's like Lethbridge. And then I guess if there are some big things that you're missing, you can drive to Calgary. It's 2 hours drive away, which is a short distance here in Canada.
Apparently.
Like we lived in London for 2 years and never made it to Scotland, which is just 4 hours away from London.
Probably more than that.
4 hours on the train.
But where I grew up in Lithuania, I'm pretty sure you can cross the whole country in like 5-ish hours. So for me, driving 2 hours is like crossing half of my country. So
yeah, but the scale, it's like you can drive for 4 days and still be 5 days. I don't know how far you can drive in Canada, and you'll still be in Canada.
Probably, yeah.
Take you forever to drive over to Newfoundland or something like that.
Well, you had quite a few clients driving here from other provinces, making that long trip.
Yeah, it's like their possessions on Friday and they're leaving on like Monday or Sunday. And it's like, hey, like, are you good for possession? And they're like, yeah, we're on the road. I'm like, oh, it's, you gotta drive to go. So, and yeah, do you think we're ever gonna move back to London or Lithuania?
Oh, probably not. Not right now, for sure. Would I want to retire somewhere else? Maybe one day somewhere on an island in Spain. I don't think I would want to move back to London, but obviously never say never. We always have that option. But for now, I definitely am enjoying my life here and raising a family. And I don't see us moving back to London or anywhere, to be honest, anytime soon.
No other city in Canada now that you've been here?
No, definitely not Calgary. I'm sorry.
Definitely not Calgary.
It really stresses me out every time we go there. Like the drivers are crazy. It's such a big city. And I really like living in a smaller place. So yeah, I just don't see ourselves moving. What about you? Like, do you have plans?
No, yeah, maybe Coaldale. I don't know, but that's
Moving to even a smaller place,
10,
maybe.
10 minutes down the road or whatever. It's like Coaldale's like, yeah, small, and then you got Lethbridge for all the big things that you want. So for me, like, I went to school in Coaldale, so for me, Lethbridge is the big city,
True,
which is
yeah.
like backwards from what you're thinking. But yeah, that's no,
So
we'll see. We'll see.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
Most of my business is in Lethbridge, so it's good to be close to
So
work.
no to London, but maybe Coaldale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Or yeah. Okay, we'll stop there. All right. So, anything else?
No, I think we covered a lot. Anyone that has any other questions, I'm here.
Yeah.
to
If you have any
answer them.
questions, leave a comment below. Maybe we'll do another conversation and address some of the questions. And yeah, if you made it all the way here, make sure to like, subscribe, and better yet, give me a call, and we can get you moved from London to Lethbridge. Who knows?
Who knows?
All right.
Thanks for having me here. I was
Well-
very nervous about it, so hopefully this video does well.
Well, thanks for not moving back to London. And yeah.